From New York, Kevin McCullough, glad to be with you. And again, if you want to give us feedback on anything related to the broadcast, please visit afatoday.com. afatoday.com. 1,700 of you now using that Facebook page on a daily basis. We've got this story linked so you can read the full ugly detail yourself. We put it up just a bit ago. And getting a lot of feedback from the show we did earlier this week about the woman praying on the school steps. Very interesting to see what motivates people to respond. But grateful that you are. And if you would like to join us online, it's afatoday.com. And like that Facebook page. And then come on back every day, get updates on what's going to be on the show, and weigh in. We love it when people comment and get a conversation going online. That's afatoday.com. All right, what we're talking about is a teacher in northern Michigan who 7 years ago had a sexual relationship with his student that also happened to be a male. The school district didn't know about it, but when they found out about it 7 years later, they filed criminal charges. The student is now a college-aged kid now, and they went through the trial, and he was found guilty of having molested a student in the school. Guilty. He was found guilty in the courts of doing it, which meant that they went through discovery and they presented evidence, and then they had cross-examination, and then they had cross-examination, and then they had closing arguments and the ability to defend oneself and to say, this is what I did and this is why it's not what you think it was, or this is why I didn't do it. And we have the chance to establish that guilt or innocence very, very clearly. It's very detailed, laid out process. And after he was found guilty on one criminal count, that there were at least 10 times that it happened that he should have probably been found guilty for. But on the conviction of the one charge, he was found guilty. And at his sentencing, 6 of his fellow teachers come to the courtroom and beg the judge, please go easy on him. He made a mistake. This isn't, he won't do it again. It turns into a big town brouhaha, and the town kind of divides who they take the sides for. They're either for the parents of the child that was molested, and they want they don't only want him fired, they want all the teachers that testified at the trial fired. Because they're saying the teachers can't be trusted. And the teachers say, do it and we'll sue you for violating our constitutionally protected speech. So obviously making things better all the way around. And then to add just a little bit of gas to the fire, those that are supporting the teachers saying, oh, you're only doing this because he's gay. If he wasn't gay, you wouldn't be upset about the molestation. But because he's gay, you're being a bigot. That's what the supporters of the teacher and the teachers and that side, and evidently that side feels totally okay with burning the house down of the child that he man-raped. Because they put a little message on there and then lit the place on fire. Like I said, every element of anything that is wrong in the culture probably stemming from something in this story today. You can probably find it. Greed, anger, sexual libertinism, the desire to not be told what to do, the desire to have no accountability, no responsibility being taken for actions, wanting to let people off easy. And, oh, by the way, if you are a man and you like sex with other men and you want to go rape children, we're not supposed to think of you as a bad person now. We're supposed to accept you into our culture and say, it's okay, and if anybody disagrees, we'll call them a bigot. 888-589-8840. I can just picture it, too. The teachers, they're the educated elites, because this is a small town. This is a small town in northern Michigan. And the teachers, they're all college educated, probably all have their masters in education. They probably have their little wine and cheese parties, and they look down their noses at all the dumb, stupid people that they have to teach the dumb, stupid kids of that come into their classrooms. Yeah, the unenlightened Neanderthals that live in the woods of northern Michigan. We're stuck teaching their spawn. And they have their little wine and their little cheese, and they talk about these philosophical things. Well, don't you think that what Neil did don't you just think it was normal human behavior? I mean, he just had this friendship with this boy, and it just got a little out of hand. It just went a little too far. We can't be a society that judges that. 888-589-8840. Let's talk to Brian, who's calling from Virginia. Hello, Brian. You're on with Kevin McCullough on AFA Today. How are you?
Hey, Kevin. I'm well, thank you. Good to talk to you again.
Thank you.
I'm really glad you're in this time slot now. I really appreciate your analysis on these things.
Thank you.
I got a few things to say about this, and what you just said about all the ills of society being wrapped up in this one story is pretty much it. I mean, first of all, it
is the unleashing of hell on earth, Brian. I don't know of a more putrefying piece of news that could further embody the depravity of mankind than this piece of news.
I would totally agree with you. I mean, you got the supporters saying that you're picking on him because he's gay. He's not gay. He's a pedophile. Okay? If it was a girl that he had molested, they would call him a pedophile. They wouldn't call him homosexual. Okay? And that ties into another larger issue. The homosexual agenda is driving us towards this sexual libertinism to the extreme. I've actually seen YouTube videos of people arguing the fact that pedophilia should be considered a sexual preference, not a mental disorder.
Yep.
That's where the society is headed. And the problem is that for generations now, people that think like that have been infiltrating our school boards. They've been infiltrating our schools. They've been infiltrating our local government. And what we need to do to fight back is what Tony Perkins says all the time. We need to run for school board.
Yep.
We need to run for local government. We need to take our society back at the ground level and go all the way up to Washington, D.C., and start filling these slots, because that's what they've been doing for generations, and we need to reverse that tide. It's going to take a little while, but we need to stand up, and we need to know, and we need to speak with love about why this is wrong. And we need to be educated about why it's wrong. We need to be educated about what the Bible says and be able to give an educated defense of our position of why homosexuality is sin, just like adultery, just like any other sin.
Yep. There's no question about that, Brian. And all that you've heard this quote before, but all that's necessary for evil to prosper is for good men to do nothing. See, what you have in this particular town, in that little microcosm of what we're looking at this afternoon, what you have there is half the town that wishes to literally do nothing. It was one time. It was an isolated incident. There wasn't anything wrong with it. He just had a relationship that went too far. Listen to all the justification of what they're saying. And to be quite candid, I don't think the one teacher who is the molester in this case is nearly the threat to the welfare of that town that the 6 teachers are that are teaching the mush minds of the ones that are in their class. Teachers that will justify this should be run out of town. They shouldn't be sitting in classrooms with children. Because if they can justify this, imagine what other garbage they can pour into the mind of your child. In terms of the actual molester, let him go live in the woods somewhere. That guy, he's probably not going to have a very significant life from this point on. So if he rots in jail or you let him out, I think that's the much smaller problem in that particular town. The much bigger problem is that 1/3 of the school board, 6 teachers in a very small town, I got to think they're teaching a lot of the kids there, and 2 retirees that they're still paying the pension and the benefits to. those people still have influence. And they've told the town people, you try to fire us, we're going to sue you. So not only are they living and I don't use this word lightly, not only are they living as abject fools before God, but in addition to that, they are telling the town, even try to do something about it, and we will hurt you? We will take you down? I don't know that human nature gets much uglier than this. Honestly, I don't. We want to defend the right of teachers to be able to molest children. 888-589-8840. Let's go to Monty in Virginia. Hey, Monty, you're on with Kevin McCullough on AFA Today.
Kevin, you are becoming very popular here in Culpeper, Virginia.
Where? Tell me about Culpeper. I want to know a little bit about that town, because if I'm popular, I need to know about it.
It's a Confederate, if you want to say, when they separated from the Union, it changed hands between Union or the Confederates 65 times. It's one of the hubs of northern Virginia. There are three major routes come through here: 522, 29, and 15.
Wow!
It's about 50,000 in the county. And I have never been hired as a teacher with 2 master's degrees in my hometown, but I can go almost anywhere else, and they will hire me in or out of my certification.
That's interesting. Well, what do you think? Because I'm still fascinated. You made the claim I'm popular in Culpeper. Why? What did I do?
You have just like Brian Fisher and Crane Durham. I listen to radio almost 24 hours a day, which is strictly Christian. I've gotten the TV's gone. We have 8 kids, 7 to 22 years old, and I'm 65. Got married at 41, and both of us are educators. But Kevin, what is wrong with the whole issue is that I had no idea when I chose to be a teacher back in 1962 and graduated at 2 very prestigious universities, that when I finally got into teaching, that my colleagues did not believe in much of anything that I know spiritually and sacred from God Almighty is true. And the behavior with the judge and the behavior with these people, they just mirror each other. They have no capacity to know what we know you teach and preach as a Christian, that morality has something to do with everything.
Yeah. Every decision you make is a moral decision. People say, no, it's not. It's just an issue of choice. But if I don't tie my shoe before I decide to walk down the stairs and I fall and break my leg and I can't support my family, I made an immoral decision in choosing not to tie my shoe. There's not really much in life that is morally neutral. It's almost all moral or immoral, and there's the spectrum, but there's very little places in life where that is true. But the lie of a secular culture is that it tries to tell you that everything is neutral, and in reality, almost nothing is.
Just to tell you real quickly, Kevin, Jerry Falwell used to be the moral majority. They are 2 hours from Culpeper. My wife is working on her doctorate at Liberty in education. But the bottom line is, we who teach and preach truth because we know the Bible speaks truth, we have a real hard time getting through to our friends and neighbors that we aren't, biased. We only know what we believe and has been proven to be true. So we're at a real disadvantage. People don't listen to AFR radio like we do, and they don't hear the truth.
Well, Monty, thank you for your encouragement, and tell the beautiful metropolis of Culpeper that KMC says yo. So cool. Very, very excited to be in Culpeper, Virginia today. 888-589-8840. We're talking about the rationale, and I'd like to know your opinion about why you think the teachers came to the aid. Was it just purely a play of sympathy for a poor gay man that they just felt, pity and compassion on? And how would you respond if 6 teachers in your district, your school district, decided to take this route, to follow this line of thinking and to defend this line of thinking in the courts? to the degree that the judge had to say, I'm ashamed of you people. I'm a judge in this district, and this is the kind of people we have living here? You would defend this behavior? You would try to ask for leniency? 888-589-8840. Let's go back to the phones. Michael is calling from Texas. Hello, Michael. You're on AFA Today with Kevin McCullough. Glad you're with us.
Good afternoon. Hanging. I was raised by a sharecropper's kid, and got taught, and who got highly intelligent and was very well educated. And I picked a lot of that up. I've already had that day now that I'm 63 when I looked in the mirror and I went, oh, my God, I've become my father. You know, and I had the same thing that kid had to go through. It happened to me when I was 7. So you can imagine I don't have much sympathy. And why don't we talk about that? Why don't these teachers want to talk about that part? Gee, what kind of impact did this have on this kid's life?
And interestingly, in the story, Michael, they point out that while all 6 current teachers, the 2 retirees, and the board member, so I guess 9 people total from the pro-teacher side, wrote letters to the court, not a one of them wrote a piece of correspondence to the child's family or to the child in any way. Stunning when you think about their life's calling, I would think, that a student's family who had been wronged in this way, massively wronged by the school, didn't express 1 ounce of support for the child or the family.
And they burned down their garage. It doesn't necessarily surprise me. I'm past being surprised, and I'm not going to answer that if you hear that phone.
Well, that's okay, Michael. We're out of time, so you actually can go answer it. But thank you for your call, and I'm sorry that happened to you. It's certainly nothing that people should take lightly, and someone like you would be able to know and be able to say that to these folks that are just so foolish. They're just so foolish, and I don't use that word lightly. Kevin McCullough, glad you're with us. It's AFA Today. This is AFR Talk. Coming right back.